How can a chemical substance provide an escape?
It doesn't, but it makes you think it does. You have to understand, drugs can make you feel good.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fully Functional, a TNG podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory.
Yo.
Jeff and I are Star Trek nerds. Dory is a Star Trek novice, and we're going on a journey through Star Trek The Next Generation, episode by episode. Today we're discussing the first season episode, Symbiosis. Original air date, April 16th, 1988, and we'll go to Dory for the recap.
Okay, so for some reason, the team is like, let's go to this big-ass sun and, watch it do stuff for no reason. And because we're going to the sun, the, radiation is going to be, or not radiation, I don't know. The magnetic field is going to be a lot, so it's going to, fuck around with our systems, even though there is absolutely no, it doesn't do anything. The screen's a little blurry here and there, and there's lightning on the control panels, but truly there is nothing to do with anything. It doesn't hindrance anything. So then there's a ship that's sending out an SOS or something. No, maybe not an SOS. I don't know. But there's a ship that's sort of floating, and they're in really, really bad shape, and they're heading into the atmosphere, and they need help. But they're really chill about they need help. So they're trying to do Picard, and everybody's trying to get them. Either trying to send them this piece that they need to fix the ship. It's not, they can't get it to them, and then they're trying to beam the people over, but instead people send the, what's it called? Baggage? No,
cargo.
What's the term I'm looking for? Cargo, yes.
Yeah, the baggage.
They send the cargo over instead of them, and then finally they're like, Jesus Christ. So the thing is this is the second time they've done that recently, where something is blowing up and they get people here literally outside, they're watching it blow up, and then the people appear on the Enterprise.
That's a pretty common Star Trek trope.
And so it turns out it's 4 people, 2 guys from Ornara. One is Tajan, and the other one is Romas. Tajan looks like the poor man's Steven Dorff.
Yeah, a little bit.
And the other 2 people, it's a man and a woman. The guy's name is Sobi, who has a middle part and looks like Siegfried from Siegfried and Roy. A terrible outfit. And then Langor is the woman, and I fucking hate this lady.
Yeah.
She is such a... She's awful.
She has
and
that
her
evil
outfit
grin.
Matches. Yeah, it's a very smug face, and I hate it. Yeah, she's a horrible dress, and it's truly one of the most unflattering dresses I've ever seen on someone.
Yeah, it doesn't look great.
It's really weirdly cut, and it doesn't fit her.
Yeah, it has cutouts and ruching, which is weird.
And, yeah, it's not a cute look, but anyways, basically so Sobi and Link are from Brekka, and they're traveling together because they were selling the cargo, which is this thing called Felicium.
Mm-hmm.
No. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
It is called Felicium.
Okay, yeah. So they're giving the Felicium to John and Romas, or they were buying it, but then the ship blew up, so the exchange isn't going to happen anymore because it had the stuff they were giving Sobi and Langor. Oh, they need this. The cargo it's the medicine, because there's an alleged plague on Ornara, and it's a big deal though, because the Brekkans, it takes a lot of it's expensive, and it's a whole process to make the Felicium, so they only have so much. It's pretty clear pretty quickly to Dr. Crusher that there's something not right here, because our 2 guys from Ornara are displaying some real junkie behavior. It is alarming, and felt bad for them, honestly. The more we get into this episode, the more I'm like, oh no.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, they realize that Sobi and Langor, they are aware of this, that there is no plague on Ornara. They're basically drug addicts, and the Felicium is what they're addicted to. And Picard has a whole thing because he's like, well, the Prime Directive, I can't get involved, even though, like, he knows it's wrong. He knows it's messed up. And these people are basically, it's a pretty messed up situation. And Dr. Crusher is pretty upset, not psyched about what's happening. But the thing is, like, nobody can do anything. But at the last minute, so the guys get their sort of fix, and then there's so much in this it's kind of convoluted.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
So by the end, there was a piece they were going to give to the Ornara guys that would allow the freighters, like their ships, to work, so they could then exchange their goods for, I guess, the services of their drug of choice. And Picard is like, actually, I'm going to keep the coils. As like a kind of a dig towards the Brekkans, who are like, gasp, this will like deter, they being like, oh yeah, well, they won't be able to get their medicine. And it's like, no, you won't be able to like rely on them for shit anymore. Because Langor has a line that was like kind of messed up. She goes, the Ornarians provide us with the necessities of life, and we provide them with the necessities of living.
Yep.
It is a fair exchange. And I'm like, that is not a fair exchange.
No.
You've made these people into drug addicts.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's not, honestly, not a super great conclusion, because they just let these people go back down to their planet.
It's
and,
not
like,
a conclusion.
well, carry on.
Yeah.
It's just, and then at the end of the episode, oh yeah, at one point, the guys try to take Riker hostage, but they refer to this person twice. I don't know why I found that funny. But they're like, we're gonna kill this person. It's like,
Which person? This one. I don't know.
this one, this person. It's like, it's Riker.
Yeah.
You've met him. And then it just ends with like Picard being like, I don't really give a shit where we're going. Let's just get out of here.
Yeah.
And I think, like, this is also one of the episodes, I think, that it feels like this is kind of, maybe not like a lasting effect like the Worf episode, but it feels like there's definitely, maybe something has changed, because I've never seen Picard be quite as, like, I don't know, like this is, I think this is probably the most, like, situation where, like, he wants to do something, he knows something needs to be done, but just is like, I can't. So, like, kind of does what he can, but it really doesn't, it's helpful in a sort of way.
In a roundabout
but
way.
But it's just, you have to sit there and be like, well, it does feel like there's something on his conscience, because then by the end, he clearly did want to help, because then he's like, fuck it, I don't really care where we're going. I think because he's just, like, done with this day.
This is definitely the Picard of, like, the rest of the series by this point in time.
Yeah.
And I would actually argue that what he does here is not necessarily consistent with the way that he conducts himself in the future. That's very likely season 1 writing that I would chalk that down to.
Yeah. They still, because they have Picard say, like, because this is the first real, like, Prime Directive episode.
They actually define it in this episode. It's non-interference in cultures and
less
why they
developed
do
worlds,
Yeah.
he says.
It's
that's kind of
yeah.
patronizing.
it still has that, like, kind of condescending, we're right, you're wrong kind of feel to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because at the end, like, Picard straight up says, like, he says that deal, it's like, every time humanity has tried to, interfere with underdeveloped cultures, it goes bad. And the Prime Directive philosophy, which is a correct one, says blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's like, because I'm assuming the Prime Directive is a commentary on kind of U.S. interference
That's exactly what
in
it
other
is.
things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's kind of questionable to say They probably didn't mean it this way, but you probably shouldn't say undeveloped civilizations.
I mean, this was the
Yeah.
80s in which,
Yeah.
you know, the developed nations of the world were explicitly called the First World, and, you know, the underdeveloped nations were explicitly called the Third World. So,
Yeah.
Was there...
yeah.
What was the second world where they just give it like first and third person? Oh no, there is second person in books.
I think
Yeah.
Second World are all of these, like, supporting countries that are not really, you know, one way or the other. Not leading nations, but not ones that are, like, suffering.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we're gonna just jump into it, I vehemently disagree with the decision in this episode.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think probably
Yeah, this
most
was-
people do.
Fully messed up.
Yeah.
I would hope so. At least most of our listeners do.
Yeah, because, like, okay, I totally get the interference thing, and, like, telling them this information that there is no plague and this is just a narcotic and that kind of thing would kind of mess up their entire society.
Dynamic, yeah.
Both societies and dynamic. But the thing is, fuck the Brekians.
Yeah.
Like, they
Yeah.
because it's like they would get fucked up because they have no other industries. Like, I'm assuming they don't really have, like, an established agriculture or manufacturing or whatever, like, that isn't dedicated to Felicium. And I'm like, you know what, like, you guys know
That's your problem.
Yeah, that's a you problem.
Yeah.
You know what? You chose to knowingly exploit these other people, so fuck you.
Yeah, your import export is narcotics.
Well,
Yeah.
also the
So,
episode
like-
quite literally frames them as villains. There is a scene in which the two of them are, like, pouring each other alcohol and sipping it with grins on their faces, and it's like, I'm sorry, they are the villains. That's what the episode is telling us. It's not even being subtle about it.
Well, it's like orange juice.
Okay, fine.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
the point is, they're literally, like, they're holding it up, like,
Yeah.
like,
To evil.
to evil, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's, there's nothing subtle about the way that they're portrayed. They are meant to look like the bad guys.
Yeah. Also, tiny side note, those, like, flower petal shaped glasses would be a nightmare to drink out of.
Oh yeah, they'd be useless because you'd be spilling up the sides of them all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, my deal is, like, fuck the Brekians. You should absolutely interfere in this case.
Fuck the Breckians. That's the tweet.
Yeah. That's it. That's the tweet. Because, like, I don't know, I feel like
It's so frustrating.
because you're not going in there interfering. It's like you're just telling them what you know.
Yes.
You know? And, okay, so, here's my sort of rewrite of the episode, where if you don't want to straight up tell them, like, hey, the Breckians are fucking you over, you just have Dr. Crusher go, like, to one of them, or both of them, the Ornarans, and be like, hey, I don't detect any of this virus in you.
Oh yeah, she did kind of keep that secret from them.
Yeah, I don't detect any of this virus in you. I believe you're cured. I'm noticing that your medicine also has an addictive effect, so you might want to try to wean yourself off of it and see, like, she could say, like, you know, your symptoms are similar to withdrawal, so maybe just, you know, try not taking the medicine for a while and see if, like, get past it. Or something. Like, she could tell them on, like, a personal level, like, not the full story, but I think they deserve their own, like, information on their own medical situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you could have had a whole back and forth with Dr. Crusher and Picard being like, you're playing with fire, this is, like, this could be seen as a violation of Prime Directive, and then you can have a whole argument about that.
I think the episode definitely spent more time in letting the audience and the crew kind of unravel the mystery.
Yeah.
But the issue with that is... Actually, but before I continue, I'd like to ask Dory. Dory, when was it abundantly clear that it was drugs and not medicine?
From the second I saw them, look at their clothes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
The second I saw them, I was like, oh, this is the drug part. from the clue from last episode.
Yeah, we also gave you a hint.
That's true.
Yeah, I was like, these guys are the ones on drugs.
But
They're
do you think that it would have been like less clear? Like, did you find that the fact that it's drugs is made like kind of glaringly obvious?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's exactly what I take away from it, and obviously because I knew the twist, it wasn't something that I could really go in and say, well, this seems too obvious, because I'm biased against it. It does seem really obvious. They do not try to hide the fact that these guys are addicted to something and that they're really desperate, and they make it like... They give you every clue that they possibly can about it, and supposedly... As they were making the episode, there were a lot of continuity issues, a lot of issues with the actors not really knowing like what the hell their motivation from scene to scene was, and I think that kind of contributes to the fact that none of the characters on the Enterprise have any resolution in this.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, except Dr. Crusher. She has a resolution in it, but everyone else doesn't. They're just like, well, we'll do something, but we'll also do nothing.
Yeah.
Because I think this is one of the cases where, like, it truly doesn't affect anything on the ship.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a conflict between other people. I mean, I do think something will maybe stick with at least Beverly, at least Dr. Crusher after this, and maybe Picard. I don't think this is a necessarily consequence-free thing. I feel like this could still possibly be on their conscience for a little while.
Well, this is completely consistent with Beverly's character. She is like this for the entirety of the series, and that's great.
Good.
Yeah, she stands up for her moral
Yeah,
convictions.
I think it definitely informs their characters.
Yes. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
When I was a kid, I didn't know the twist.
Oh,
but also
okay,
I
that's
was a
fair.
kid.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I think maybe, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like how junkies were portrayed in the 80s.
Oh, it's really blatant.
Yeah, if people would have been familiar with those kind of signs.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, keeping in mind that in the 80s, this would have been like smack at like one of the highest points of the say no to drugs thing. Especially because this would have been at the heights of the AIDS epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, not sharing needles was one of those things that was pushed around a lot during the AIDS epidemic. And a lot of people that were in the gay community were just kind of portrayed as drug addicts.
Yeah.
So
just diseased drug addicts was kind of the meh.
Yeah, so this taking a stand on that probably would have been fairly progressive for the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because, I mean, we're definitely going to get to the bit with Tasha Yar and Wesley.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
hindsight is 2021 though.
Yeah, the PSA. I guess we can just get into it, because
I wrote the entire thing down.
Yeah, here's the thing.
The entire scene.
As corny as it is, she's not wrong.
No, she's not.
And
I kind of feel like she made me want drugs more. Like, is she saying say no to drugs, or is she saying, well, here's all the positives of drugs, and there's some pretty great positives.
I mean, I personally never interpreted it that way.
It's just the way that she delivered it made it seem that way. Especially when she kind of hugs herself for a moment. She's like, drugs can make you feel good.
And that's the thing, though, is, like, I think, especially for the time, that was, like, better, like, a bajillion times better than any other drug PSA, where they just try to instill you with fear rather than being honest about drugs.
Yes. Okay, that's fair.
I guess we should. I guess, Dory, you should read it, because we should. If the audience doesn't know, we
John,
should.
Okay.
We should tell them about the scene.
Okay. So I also, before I start, I like that Wesley asked Data, but Yar is the one that gave him the answers.
Data's reaction at the end of it is fucking hilarious. Because he just kind of looks around like, all right.
So, okay, it starts off, Wes goes, Data, I can understand how this could happen to the
Ornarans.
Or Narans. What I don't understand is why anyone would voluntarily become dependent on a chemical. And then Data goes, voluntary addiction to drugs is a recurrent theme in many cultures. And then Yar busts in and she's like, Wesley, no one wants to become dependent. That happens later. It's like, oh snap. Then Wesley goes, but it does happen. So why do people start? And then Yar says, On my home planet, there was so much poverty and violence that for some, the only escape was through drugs. Then Wes says, how can a chemical substance provide an escape? Then Yar says, it doesn't, but it makes you think it does. You have to understand, drugs can make you feel good. They can make you feel on top of the world. You're happy, sure of yourself, in control. And then Wes goes, but it's artificial. Then Yar goes, it doesn't feel artificial until the drug wears off. Then you pay the price. Before you know it, you're taking the drug not to feel good, but to keep from feeling bad. And then Wes goes, and that's the trap. And then Yar goes, all you care about is getting your next dosage. Nothing else matters. And then Wes goes, I guess I just don't understand. And then Yar goes, Wesley, I hope you never do.
Yeah, it's very
Thank you for
corny.
coming to my one-woman performance of the Star Trek PSA.
That actually makes me wonder if Will Wheaton had started drinking by this point in the series.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because he may have been. He had problems with alcoholism for a while that he quite proudly got over. But I don't know how early they started.
When he was like this young in the first season?
I mean, it could have been.
It's not unusual. It's not unusual for child actors to have substance abuse problems, like when they're that
no,
young.
I know. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, I know Judy Garland's biography,
Yeah.
the
Oh,
ups,
boy.
the down. Oh man, no, I'm aware.
Drew Barrymore went to rehab when she was like 13. Like it's nuts.
Oh yeah, a podcast host that I adore. She went to rehab at like 9 or 11 or
Oh,
something.
jeez.
Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the backstory is Will Wheaton has basically no relationship with his parents at this point in time, and has not for quite some time. His mother was extremely pushy for him to get into the acting business, which he didn't really want to do. His father was abusive, and the two of them together kind of created this perfect storm of not really allowing this child to develop properly at all. And he has talked quite openly about a lot of the problems that he's developed directly because of that. And when he did finally get sober, which I think was 5 years ago now, I saw a big post about it that he made recently, about the anniversary of it. He talked about how going back to his parents and trying to talk to them about it, and they were just like completely doubtful. They were just like, nah, you'll never do it. You're useless.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And imagine like all that, and on top, everyone hates you because everyone hates Wesley.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Ugh.
Yeah, I never really read about his time on Star Trek, but I read his book, which was about like kind of his life after Star Trek.
Oh yeah. Did he talk about the alcoholism issue, or had he not really dealt with it by that point?
Yeah, I don't think so, because
Okay.
like that's a surprise to me. I didn't realize, like, I didn't know that he had alcohol abuse issues.
Yeah, I don't know how extensive it was because he mostly talked about the recovery in his post that I was reading.
Yeah.
But I do know that it was extensive enough that he wasn't abusive or anything, but he would very much not recognize himself when he got himself to that point. And a realization came when he was at home with his wife. He didn't want to disturb her because he was awake in the middle of the night, and decided to go pee in the yard. And she woke up and saw and was just like, this is where you are.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there's different levels of drinking problems too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't know how extensive it was with him just because I didn't read that part of it. I didn't see him describe that.
Well, I'm really proud of him for getting sober and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome. We stand Will Wheaton.
Yeah. This is a Will Wheaton
absolutely.
Stan podcast.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, circling back to the Tasha thing, it's like, I think, especially for the time, it was a very compassionate view of drug addiction
Yes,
that she
yes,
gave.
definitely.
Yeah.
Because it was like, it was not like, oh, like, you're, like, dirty trash or whatever. And it's like, yeah, there's a lot of fucked up shit going on in your life, and drugs kind of can provide an escape from that.
Media also, a lot of entertainment media went out of its way to ramp up the criminal aspect of drugs. So there was that. I mean, look at RoboCop.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is that, like, because people still have that view now. I think
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's less extreme than it used to be. But, like, this stuff doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's not out of nowhere. It's not like, I want to get addicted to crack because I'm just a lazy piece of shit.
You know what would be a great addiction? Heroin. I've never tried being addicted to heroin. I should try that.
Be like, I don't really want my teeth anymore, so like, why not?
Yeah. And the thing, by the way, for people that don't know, coke and crack, exact same thing. They're just slightly different forms.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, crack just comes in like little rocks, and coke is like a powder. But they're exactly the same thing.
Well, let's get some rocks.
But you know why one is more demonized than the other?
Why?
Because one is favored by black people.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Ah, it's almost like there's some racism involved.
Yeah. It's not like... I think it's usually sold a bit cheaper. Because I think cocaine is just like... those little rocks just more processed, like they're just ground up into a powder.
Oh, and
right?
like
so you pay
possibly
for
more refined.
Yeah, I think it's like brand recognition, right? It's like they're ostensibly the same thing, but it's like Coke just has a sleeker image.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's because like whenever I hear Coke, I think of like Wall Street guys.
Yeah, exactly. It's because they have the association of Coke is Wall Street and like crack is ghetto, you know.
Great.
Can't we all just enjoy our drugs together?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
But they're the exact same thing. They're just demonized because of you know, the particular populations that use them.
I just Googled it, and yeah, crack is 100%. It's just cocaine, but it's been mixed with water and baking soda. That's it.
Yeah, because
so all you people out there who want to make it themselves. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Because it's the full name of it is crack cocaine.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Which just reminds me of that PSA with Pee Wee Herman, which is like him in a dark room, and he's talking as Pee Wee, and he has like a little vial of crack.
Oh.
And he's like, "This is crack," and it's like just very serious, and he's like, "It's not cool. It's all the standard drug PSA shit."
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's kind of amazing.
I'm sorry, this went off on a tangent of my tangent. But the the point I was getting to is like, yeah, like substance abuse issues like are usually highly correlated with poverty and being around violence and all that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Because like Tasha says, that like it makes you feel like you're in control. It makes you feel happy.
Drugs can make you feel good.
Mm-hmm. And the most poignant thing I think she says is that, like, after a while, you don't take it to feel good. You take it to stop from feeling bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I said this before. Like, as cheesy as it is, like, I think it's what she said is true.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I mean, I feel like it came off not so much as, like, a corny PSA. I think it's because it comes from Yar. Mm-hmm. It somehow made it feel a little bit, I don't know, not natural, but like not as like super random.
It was a little more authentic, I guess.
Yeah, the point is it didn't come from Worf.
Yeah, because it makes sense for her to tell Wesley that stuff because of where she comes from.
Yeah, because if like Data answered, it'd be like, I feel like it'd be way less like about the emotional aspect, which is the feelings. Mm-hmm. Like they feel better, and it just feels more authentic coming from Yar. So like it didn't bother me. I mean, the second Wesley was like, I don't get why people get addicted to chemicals. I was like, oh boy, here we are. Here we go.
Yeah,
here we go.
Yeah, I think it's very like shoehorned in.
Wesley, dare to say no.
And this is like, I think, like oddly relevant, this episode, because it can almost be interpreted as a commentary on the current opioid crisis.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
Like in my view, because it's like, yeah, we're kind of giving all these people a very heavy dependency, when don't necessarily have to.
Yes.
Because opioids were like really heavily pushed. Mm-hmm. More than necessary. Mm-hmm. So now a lot of people, and probably weren't given good enough tools to deal with the addictive aspect of it.
It's interesting that it's this episode that is such a fierce commentary on what it's supposed to be, even if it's not even 100% effective at it. So out of the two lead guest actors, I don't remember the chiseled-faced guy's name off the top of my head, but the other one, Merritt Buttrick. Both of these actors have actually worked together before in Star Trek. They were both in Wrath of Khan.
That's where I've seen them before. I recognize their faces.
Yeah, Chiseled Face Man was the second-in-command guy of Khan.
Yeah.
And Merritt Buttrick was Kirk's son.
Yes.
Yeah. So...
Oh, I knew I'd seen them before.
Yes. So Merritt Buttrick, sorry, his name is difficult to pronounce. He died within a year of filming this episode from AIDS.
Oh, fuck.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus.
So
That sucks,
it's interesting that something like that would happen to one of the lead actors in this episode, considering that this episode is such a direct social commentary about something that is connected to the AIDS crisis.
Yeah.
So I almost wonder if he was seeking out the role specifically to get out some sort of awareness, but I don't know enough about what his like public face was during that point in his career.
Yeah. Even though, like, sort of drug addiction and the AIDS crisis are very intertwined,
Yep.
this episode, I wouldn't connect to the AIDS crisis.
Oh, no, neither would I. I'm just saying that the two are connected when it comes to social commentary quite often, and I'm wondering if that's why he was seeking it out, because at the time, the two of them were extremely topical.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That's too bad, man. That really sucks.
Yeah. He's not the first Star Trek actor to have died, obviously, and not the first one to have died under terrible circumstances, but it's definitely a little bit of a, not coincidence, but it's the word I'm looking for. Damn.
It's like in the realm of irony, but not irony.
Yeah, I really didn't want to say irony because I'm like, that's not
say,
very
like, in
nice.
In the realm, not swimming around the borders of irony.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're not
yeah,
on
I'll
the
definitely
island.
go with that because I only know him from Star Trek. I haven't seen him in anything else, and he wasn't that old, so he didn't have that long of a career beforehand, obviously. But, I mean, I grew up watching Wrath of Khan, and I grew up watching TNG, so I was very familiar with him in these roles. And I actually didn't know this was him until, like, years and years later, possibly because I was young, so I didn't really make the connection, but also because he plays a very good role here. Like, his character does not seem anything like David does in Star Trek 2.
Yeah.
So he was a very promising actor from what I have seen, at the very least, and it's sad that we didn't get more of that.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there is, like, at least in recent years, has been a bit of an uptick in HIV and AIDS in the LGBTQ community.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because of the rise of crystal meth in the community.
Of course. Great.
Yeah. So a lot of, like, that drug sort of became pretty popular, and it led to a lot more unprotected sex and stuff like that. And, you know, the LGBT community is a community that does suffer a lot of poverty and mental illness and that kind of thing. Because of negative treatment and that sort of deal. And there's also a segment of the population of sort of gay men who are kind of in the closet and kind of need to take drugs to get through engaging in, like, gay sex, basically.
Oh, jeez.
Because they're so, like, ashamed of themselves.
Right.
Yeah. It's really
heartbreaking.
fucking heartbreaking because it was like, it was going down and down, and then kind of crystal meth came on the scene and it started going up again. And there's also, like, this separation from the AIDS crisis. Like, we lost so many people in our community to the AIDS crisis, and there's not a lot left to tell the stories about it, you know? And not living through it, you're kind of, like, emotionally separated from it.
Yeah,
And it
that
doesn't
makes
feel
sense.
like like safe sex and being careful and protection and stuff like that, it's just not as like close to your mind because you don't have as much personal experience with it. And there's kind of an issue with, there isn't a lot of intergenerational interaction amongst the LGBTQ community.
That makes sense. It is kind of a generational divide in terms of the way that its culture works, so that makes sense.
Yeah, because like, if you're Black or Latinx or what other whatever ethnicity, it's like you have like kind of that, you have that family lineage, right?
Right.
It's like you have, Black people have Black children and they tell them about the Black experience, and like you learn throughout your life their experiences, and you have your own experiences, and it all intermixes, and you have people to teach you about your culture and stuff like that. It obviously it doesn't really work that way in the LGBT community because it's not a family lineage thing. It's kind of an individual thing. And oftentimes you're coming from, straight or cis families, and you don't get the sort of guidance.
Right.
And you don't get the stories told to you like you would if they were your parents.
What's really shit about that is because the treatments for HIV and AIDS have gotten so much better, there isn't that same level of like epidemic level fear that there was of it years ago.
Yeah.
Because I know that for a time in the community, a lot of them had been so disheartened by it that they, at least in the gay community, I don't know about the other parts of the community, they had kind of accepted it as an inevitability.
Yeah.
And some people would just kind of forcibly become HIV positive. They would seek it out in order to live off the treatment so that they would never have to fear about getting it because they would just have it.
Yeah, there's always this like segment of people that like seek out to become infected with stuff.
Yeah.
Because there was a very tiny segment of the community that got it for kind of just to be fashionable, I guess. But that was a very micro portion, but it did exist. And there are those fucked up people that would like infect people on purpose and shit.
Yeah, I've read about some of those.
There was an episode of CSI about that.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Well, you've hit the mainstream when you're on CSI.
It was the Las Vegas one also.
Yeah. I mean,
great.
CSI is how I learned about furries.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh my
That's
God. I know what episode you're talking
Yeah.
about.
They were called plushies in that episode, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh,
there was like a
for
blue.
God's sakes.
Yeah.
There was like a blue one or something.
Yeah.
Was it Sonic?
I honestly don't remember what the
No.
animal was, but I do
It was like a
remember
raccoon or some
Gil,
shit.
Oh.
Oh yeah, because Gil Grissom was on the trail.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it was really funny watching him be like, "Oh, okay, I guess this is happening."
Yeah.
Oh my God, his name was Rocky Raccoon. I can't believe I remember that.
That has got to be a parody.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what his name was in the episode. Oh boy, that's from many years ago.
Yeah. Just one last thing I wanted to mention about the whole HIV/AIDS thing. It's like it's a very good thing that it's no longer like a death sentence.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can even get to the point where, you can lower your viral load so much that you, I want to be careful because I don't want to encourage anything. But if you have the right treatment, you can almost get to the point where your risk of transmitting it to others is very low.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. But,
Cool.
Like I said, I don't want to encourage anything by that, but it's, that's how effective some of the treatments can be, where they can just really significantly reduce your viral load.
Okay, let's be perfectly fair here. If anyone in our audience is looking to us for, guide to life
advice.
sort of advice.
For medical advice.
They've got problems that stem far beyond what they are currently getting help for. So there's only so much responsibility that you can take, Maggie.
Yeah. And so, like, one of the most famous people to have AIDS is, actually, I'm not sure if he has AIDS or just HIV. I don't know exactly. But Magic Johnson, who's
right.
a really famous basketball player. And there was, like, kind of this rumor going around, or people had this for some reason had this understanding that somehow he had been cured of AIDS. I don't know how it got started, but, like, I looked it up once, and he was like, no, I still have AIDS, I take my meds.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, another thing I wanted to get to about the gay community, just as a last note, is that sort of intergenerational interaction is one of the things that a lot of LGBTQ organizations are working on to get more interaction between the generations.
Oh, okay.
Because there is a big separation, and a lot of times you can tell people's views on things based on what, like, generation they are.
Right.
I mean, that's true of, like, the general population, but
yes.
There's an even bigger separation in the gay community because there's, like, almost no interaction between the generations.
Well, while we're on the topic of discrimination, can we talk about the fact that the episode kind of encouraged us to discriminate against these people by spending so much time at the beginning of the episode with absolutely no tension building whatsoever because our crew, didn't take these people seriously because they couldn't take things seriously.
Yeah, I don't think that encourages the discrimination, personally.
No, but it definitely it's not that it encouraged the discrimination, it's that it kind of leaned into those attitudes, because every time that they would be like, "Oh yeah, cool, thanks," the crew would just be like, "What the hell's going on? Why don't they give a shit?" And it's like, why don't you guys give more of a shit? You said they're gonna die in like 60 seconds. Why aren't you rushing them?
Yeah, I mean, they were.
They didn't even ramp up the music until like the last 30 seconds.
I know, but I felt like the crew was trying to do things in a timely manner.
I felt like they were trying to work with them, but I definitely didn't get the attitude that they were rushed by it until you get that moment in the transporter room. But before that, you have Worf quite literally deliver the line, like the explosion is imminent or something like that, and Picard's just like, "So are you going to the transporter room now, or?" And he's just kind of calmly talking about it like he's not worried at all.
Well,
and yeah, I don't know. I'm not seeing worry from any of the crew until that last 30 seconds or so.
Well, sometimes you feed off of what people give you, right? It's like, they don't seem very worried, and it's like, they're so confused. It's like, what the fuck? But as soon as...
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
But as soon as they learn what's actually going on, they have a lot of sympathy for them.
To be fair, I did mention that they had problems when they were shooting this episode about how the actors didn't really know what they were supposed to be feeling from scene to scene because there were changes going on. So I'm wondering if maybe that's where I'm getting this impression from, or if I'm reading it too much. I don't know. It could be either.
Yeah, I could definitely see, like, the actors not knowing. But yeah, I felt like it was most, like, especially once you learn what's going on, that they're, like, suffering from addiction, it makes sense why they're so, like, mellow and don't really know what's going on and that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I'm not criticizing them. I'm specifically...
but what I'm getting to is, I think it's perfectly reasonable for the Enterprise crew to be really confused by their reactions.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know. I just thought they should be more rushed about it. They didn't seem to have that urgency about it, and the episode's directing didn't really show me the urgency that I thought should have been there in that scene.
Well, I think because if it was like a competent crew and that kind of thing, it wouldn't have been as big of an emergency.
Okay.
Because they would have known to figure out that it was their coil. They would have known how to realign it. You know, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And Picard's just like, every step of the way, it's just like, he's surprised at how little they know and how incompetent they are.
Right.
So I think maybe that's why the urgency didn't kick in to the end.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, also Picard takes a second to like shit talk to John to Riker. He's like, he doesn't even know how to use the coil. Like, yeah. Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, like, a captain should know like how to figure out what's wrong with a ship.
Yeah, but I guess it's the shit talking part, because that definitely, that moment did sit on me. I was just like, really, guys? Like, just work on solving the problem first. Like, joke about it later.
If there's anything I've learned over the last 2 episodes is that Picard and Riker are a little bit of gossips. Yeah. they love to sit and talk shit about people.
I mean, I think that brief moment of like, what the fuck is happening here, doesn't really like affect their timing of anything.
I think my issue is that it wasn't that brief. Like, it seems to linger for me.
I didn't get that impression.
Okay, that's fair. Dory, what do you think? Break the tie.
I don't know. I don't know. It didn't feel as like urgent at first. I think like I understand the confusion. Mm-hmm. I mean, I kind of think, I don't know. That was so long ago. That was like 2 hours ago. How am I supposed to remember what happened 2 hours ago? I don't know. It just, I feel like it didn't feel as urgent at the beginning, which is what you're saying. And then it did feel more urgent at the end. I don't think it's like that they didn't, I feel like it just was like confusion. I think they were maybe, the crew's like caught off guard that like they don't know how to do all this. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't feel like it was like a discrimination or anything like that. I just feel like feels like the crew was just kind of caught off guard of like, wait, what? Like, and then like they try a few different ways, like a bit more. It does sort of seem almost like like a little bit low stakes, even though it's a very high stakes situation.
I think that's maybe what I'm trying to say with it. I was not getting high stakes from it, like, almost at all, especially when I didn't notice the music start to ramp up.
No, because the way you started this is by saying that they were, like, discriminating against them.
Okay, fair enough.
And I'm saying I don't think they were.
Okay, maybe I'm mean that from more of, like, a writer's perspective. So, like, because in the end, like, yes, these are characters who are reacting to things, but they were also all written by a writer who was like, yeah, these drug people, you know.
Yeah, but given how compassionate the episode is in general, I don't think it was meant that way. Or it was meant as like, you know, a criticism of people that treat drug addicts that way. It's like, well, you don't know the full story.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. Okay. Yeah.
I have like one brief thing
Sure.
that I was like, actually I have 2 things.
Is it about how they use the Force to fight each other?
No, that was wild though. They
have weird electrical powers.
Yeah, that was like
for no reason, really.
Yeah, that was weird. No, I think it's because of the climate we're currently in. But when they're like, oh yeah, when Dr. Crusher's like, you guys have the plague right now, and the guys were like, yeah, and I was like, I thought they were gonna get into quarantine or something.
Oh yeah, they didn't even try.
Yeah, I was like, they don't know how, like, because even Crusher was like, oh, I don't know how it's spread. Like, we don't know if it's like, you know, contagious or whatever. And I'm like, but you're still letting these guys like wander around and letting a ton of people into sick bay. Like, why aren't these guys like
they
isolated?
Yeah,
they have a plague.
Yeah,
and you don't totally know the details of it. Isolate these guys like now.
Dr. Crusher, they may be infected. Get in here.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. They should have been examined in isolation at first, not just in an open sick bay.
Yeah. It was kind of strange to me.
They should have quarantined for 2 weeks.
Yeah, seriously.
I would like to give props to whoever wrote this for giving Tasha some nice scenes, even though one of them was, whew, that the one with Wesley. But she had some good dialogue throughout this episode for the most part.
Well,
Yes.
except that bit where she's discussing the electric powers with Riker. I feel like that was awkward.
Yes, okay, that was a little awkward. But she still gets a scene. Come on, man, she doesn't get many.
True. All right. Does anyone have like favorite bits from this episode?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
100%. Mm-hmm. I have a couple. So one is Yar's line, the behave yourself, gentlemen.
Oh,
Yes! Oh, God, I loved that.
That was great. Another line. It does. This line, honestly, though, makes me realize that like we don't use this word the way I think it's supposed to be.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
what
So
this is.
Riker at the beginning, he goes, "The violence of those eruptions is awesome," and when I
Especially when you think of him as Bro Riker, all you can see is like, yo, the
Yo,
violence
this
of
is
those eruptions is
awesome.
awesome, man.
awesome, bro, it's awesome. Yeah, so it kind of reminded me that like in 1988, this they probably didn't use the word awesome as liberally as we do now. So it's like I do love the idea of this line, but it's probably not what I think it to be so funny for.
Yeah, because he uses it in the original traditional sense, but just to our modern ears, it's very funny.
Yeah. And then my last favorite bit. This is so stupid, but I'm obsessed with it. Okay, so we're at the part where the guys are given the Felicium and they're like experiencing, their high. And there is a shot on Dr. Crusher for so long. It's the slowest zoom. I timed it. It is 16 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Until the scene changes. From when it starts to zoom on her until the next scene, it's 16 seconds. And she's like just standing there like, uh-oh. I just like, what a weird choice. 16-second zoom on her.
Yeah, that's a really long time. That really is.
Yeah, that's why when I watched it, I was like, Jesus, how long was that? An hour? And then I rewinded back and then timed it on my phone. Yeah, it was like 16.65 seconds.
So the thing that really stood out to me is just about every single moment where they are focusing on the fact that, like, hey guys, it's drugs. So that scene that you just described was definitely one of them, but I described it as the injection scene because they pick it up, they do the like, come on, give it to me, and they're like, they literally inject it like it's an addictive drug, and you're like, could you have been like any less obvious about this? Just like a tiny bit, so you're not rubbing it in the audience faces that it's drugs. But no, apparently you can't, because the scene before that is when they're like begging the captain and saying, we need some now, and he's like scratching his arm at the same time, and you're like, dude, turn it down a little bit. We know
breath.
it's drugs. We get it. You've said it's drugs. You've described the drugs. You've gone into detail about why drugs are bad. We don't need this as well.
I loved any of Dr. Crusher's, like, when she's debating with Picard, when she's like, this is fucked up, we need to tell them what's going on, sort of thing. I love each of those interactions. Because
Especially in the elevator.
Yes. Because even Picard is like, at the end, he's like, I'm sorry, but there was only one choice. And she just goes, well, I hope it was the right one.
Oh.
Yeah. Burn.
Shots fired.
I also had, like, a question. At the beginning, was that real footage of solar flares?
I think it was, because it was really, like, shaky.
Yeah, because my guess was probably that was a pretty recent thing, and that they wanted to show it off in the show, maybe?
That makes sense.
I don't know if that's true, but that's what I'm guessing happened.
That's quite possible, but there wasn't any info on it in the background stuff that I was reading. So that just means there wasn't a mention of that. It doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Yeah, because I'm like, okay, this is what, 300-400 years in the future? and you're just studying solar flares now.
Hey, they're interesting when you're looking at different stars.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing about it is that like it's hard for me because I know that by now we've filmed and gotten a lot of information on solar flares and the sun's corona, like in general, and that kind of thing.
Corona?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what the kind of outer halo of the sun is called.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's why when there's a solar eclipse, the sort of circle you see around is the sun's corona. So that's why solar eclipses are also scientifically very important, because it blocks out the rest of the sun. You get a really good look at it.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, they are pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting one here in 2024.
Yeah.
Are we?
Yeah. Oh, we have to drive down to Niagara, but yeah.
Oh,
Ooh, I
shit.
could do that.
Yep. Total solar eclipse, April 2024.
Oh,
Ooh.
definitely gonna, because I missed out on the one recently.
Oh, from a couple years ago?
Yeah. Because you had to go to,
Ooh.
like, what was it, Tennessee, Jeff?
We went down to Missouri to see it, and we were in the one of the bigger parts of the zone of totality. Mm-hmm. So that means that it lasts longer when you're at that point, because you're closer to the center of where the moon's shadow is.
Yeah. We had a partial one here, and that was really interesting, because it got dark, but it wasn't like nighttime dark. It was really weird.
Well, it wasn't nighttime dark in the zone of totality either. It kind of looks like really early twilight, except instead of, you know how when the sun is like just about to rise, that side of the sky will be like orange or pink or something like that.
Yeah.
The entire sky was that color. It was really creepy. And we were in a park when it happened. We found ourselves like a public park just off from some town. And all of the animals in the park started going nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Because
they were really confused by it.
Yeah. Over here,
That's wild.
it didn't look like that here. Mm-hmm. It was like, you know when you have like on a TV or like in Photoshop or whatever, the brightness slider, where it just kind of goes like a bit darker or brighter?
Yeah.
That's what it kind of looked like. It looked like just someone had turned down the brightness on reality.
It does look like that when you're in the zone of totality as well. But the only difference is that because the sun is completely, well, not completely blocked out, but the entire center of it is blocked out, there's nothing like peeking through to give you the impression that something is still like a little bit normal. And it's really unreal. But like I said, in 2024, which will be, I mean, maybe we'll still be recording this by then. Who knows? In 2024, we can talk about it again when it happens.
Yeah.
That'd be wild. I was in Montreal when the last one, I don't think the sky changed at all. I think it was sunny the whole time. I don't think it got any darker. We were out on a main street, and earlier that day, we actually purposely went to the science center, and they gave us these glasses so we could look at the eclipse. And we were at Montreal, an art museum there. So we're on like one of the main streets, and people were coming by, and four of us are standing outside on the street looking. And so we had strangers just like coming up to us to borrow the glasses, and we're all walking up there. Now the idea of sharing something with a stranger scares the shit out of me. But at the time, I'm like, yeah, it was cool.
Were you actually in the zone of totality though? Because the zone of totality is not very large.
No, probably not.
Probably. I have no idea.
Okay.
Well,
Probably
it definitely,
not,
if Toronto wasn't, then Montreal definitely wasn't.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know if Toronto has been in it since we were kids. I know there was an instance where it happened when we were young, but I don't know if we were actually in the zone of totality or not.
Like, a total solar eclipse happens every year. It's just different parts of the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically the reason I brought that up is I could totally see having, like, the footage of the solar flares being, like, this brand new thing, and them putting it in the show just as, like, hey, look, cool science thing that just happened.
I can see that.
Yeah, but I don't know that for sure. That's my guess.
I mean, in their defense, let's be perfectly fair here. The violence of those eruptions was awesome.
Yes. All right. So, let's get to predictions. Yeah. So,
boy.
the next episode is called Skin of Evil.
Ew.
Yeah. And your tidbit is a pile of goo changes the course of the series forever.
Oh no. Oh my gosh. Ew. Okay.
Oh, sorry, before we get to this, you were kind of right about the last episode. Cuz one of your predictions for the last episode was that like taking the drug is the thing causing this plague.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Well. Look who's back in the game.
How the turns have
Guess who's
tabled.
back.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I just wanted to get that in there.
Okay, so Skin of Evil,
Mm-hmm.
and then a goo that's gonna
That
change
changes the
everything.
course of the
Of the series forever.
Oh boy. Okay, so the goo, I'm gonna assume, can like maybe become other people.
Mm-hmm.
And like I don't mean like go inside, I mean like clone style or something.
Mm-hmm.
And oh boy, I guess I have to be specific on whatever this series changing thing is, because I can't be like so vague with that. Okay, what should? This is a lot of pressure.
Good.
Okay, so a goo thing. Well, we know it's not going to be relationship wise because that doesn't happen in this show.
Dana marries Goo.
Okay, here we go. I've got something.
Okay.
Okay, so the goo, I don't know where the goo comes from, but it's evil.
Okay.
And the goo can like be like turn into its own version of another person.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe whoever the goo like becomes, and it's obviously one of our main cast, our main team, maybe they like I don't want to say genocide, but maybe they blow up a planet or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, don't. I'm gonna make
No,
it
go for it.
complicated.
Go for it. We want to hear it.
Well, I just remembered there's like the betrayal thing. Okay. So remember a few episodes ago, the guy came to Picard saying that there's like a mole or something.
Yeah.
There's somebody inside or outside. The goo is something to do with that. Because we know that, I do know that, because you said that we come back to that. I don't know. I don't remember if you said in this season or just in future seasons. But maybe it's like a red herring, and the goo becomes somebody is part of the, people trying to take down Starfleet or the Federation or whatever. And the goo, as one of our like main team, does something like betrayal. They do something bad and they're accused then, but the real version they're like accused of whatever it is that the goo did in their form or something.
Just the way that you're stringing along the your idea here, it seems like you're coming up with ideas on the fly, and it's really funny.
Well, obviously
Yeah,
she's
I
coming
mean-
up with ideas on the fly.
I can't prepare.
No,
for
I know,
this.
but it cannot be more obvious, and I'm loving it.
So your prediction is basically that the goo clones someone and they betray the Federation.
Yes.
Okay.
They're the it's the related to that episode where the guy's like, Picard, be the principal of our school.
She's gonna love DS9.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
All right. So to see if Dory's right, watch along with us and join us next time on the next episode of Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.